Hello America, this is TV's Dave Yalvin yet again. This video is called Picture Postcard Panorama. It was actually a 30-minute in length television special that was most likely syndicated throughout the United States in the year 1960. That's all we really know about it. It looks like it's the early 1960s. It's in color, and of course it's got narration. And as always, if you wish to plan your own vacation, you can go to timeforyourvacation.com. That's timeforyourvacation.com. Thank you much and enjoy the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jack Douglas with a brief introduction to tonight's colorful armchair vacation. Picture postcards. They're popular throughout the world, and especially in America. They're so pretty, so appealing, and yet what if the picture postcards of America could come to life? Well, tonight we shall try to make the postcards live and breathe. We present during the next 30 minutes favorite scenes of America in a picture postcard panorama. It is autumn in New England, in the states of Maine and Vermont. The colors of the leaves are indescribable. The fishing season has almost ended. Only a few precious hours remain, just time enough to store up memories to last the winter. The crisp air brings to a close another season. The last hunters, the last of the hunted, the last look at a free-flowing waterfall. This is Provincetown, the heart and soul of Cape Cod. He is a professional man, a lawyer or a doctor, but not a professional painter. And yet I'd pay as much as I could afford to have this watercolor, and not a few of the spectators had the same idea. It seems to the visitor that almost everyone who comes to Provincetown paints or sketches. And what a lovely model this young artist sketches in pastel chalk and crayon. Who is she? Where does she come from? I don't know, and it really doesn't matter, does it? We meet people, we pass them by, but sometimes we don't forget. A character out of Cape Cod's past, the town crier.
Saturday, July 25, high tide 103 this afternoon, 8 7/10 feet. Tide will be low this evening at 7:03, 1 1/10 foot. The sun rose this morning at 5:28 a.m. At 8:12 p.m., the sun goes down on another day.
A sand buggy scurries us away. The frigid frost of fall is unmistakable. The cold, relentless Atlantic pounds the shore, and the afternoon wind slashes the few patches of scrubby vegetation. But here's the real picture postcard, a lighthouse against a sky of black, orange, and pale blue. Not far from the Cape, at Concord, which is near Boston, the Concord River is spanned by a small bridge. Across the bridge is the famed statue of the Minuteman, and the words are by Emerson, "By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled, here once the embattled farmer stood, and fired the shot heard round the world. This is also sacred ground to all Americans. Independence Square in Philadelphia, and in the huge hall, a proud nation displays for all to see and revere the most famous bell in all the world. The shy young hands reach out and touch the crack, and when they go back home, they'll tell all who will listen, I actually touched the Liberty Bell. And as long as they live, they will never forget this moment they shared with Washington and Franklin and Paul Revere. Yes, this is also in Philadelphia, the magnificent garden that is really a part of Japan in America. And at the right time of the year, it is the most beautiful garden of its kind that I at least have ever seen. Arlington, Virginia, the tomb of the unknown soldier. It is the dawn's early light and the changing of the guard.
Face that. Ho! Pass on your orders.
All stand orders remain as directed.
Orders acknowledged.
This is also Virginia, the valley of the Shenandoah. It is Sunday morning in the Shenandoah, and here we see the Mennonites going to church service in horse-drawn buggies. Now, these pictures were not taken 20 or 30 years ago, but a few months ago. A picture postcard from the pages of yesteryear. If we identify the river steamer as the George Washington, the river as the Potomac, then surely we need only one guess as to our destination. Even in Tibet and Timbuktu, they've seen this picture of Mount Vernon. In the deep south, in Georgia, you'll take more than one snapshot of this enormous water wheel. Indeed, it's so big, you'll probably have to photograph it in sections, as we did. And there's water aplenty at Weeki Wachee Springs in nearby Florida, for the placid surface of this pool conceals the flow of millions of gallons of spring water daily, and the best underwater show in America. Cypress Gardens is Florida's #1 show attraction for tourists from all parts of the world. And here's that proverbial picture that's worth 1,000 words. you'd better believe it, Cypress Gardens is the greatest water show on the face of the earth. And this is hard to believe even when the camera proves it. Now watch. Well, at sundown, after the shadows fall, Cypress Gardens presents a different image to all who pass this way. In Tennessee, the ridges and valleys of the Smoky Mountains remind us a great deal of the New England states during Indian summer. The trees are splashed with the same vivid colors. The waterfalls are just as pure and numerous. But look up from the valleys to the mountain peaks, and we can understand why this mountain range is so aptly named. Here's a great snapshot, a tiny hamlet about to be obscured by huge billows of smoky clouds. They gave it a nickname, and they called it the Bluegrass State. The grass isn't really blue, but oh so lusciously green, and yes, they sure enough raise thoroughbreds here in Kentucky. Everybody's make-believe, home away from home, the old Kentucky home, and the days of Stephen Foster.
Oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home. For my old Kentucky home, far away.
One word is sufficient. Alamo. And I've never seen a sky as red as a Texas sky. In the Southwest and the West, Mother Nature crammed most of America's natural wonders. Leaving Texas, we're at White Sands National Monument in New Mexico, unique among the country's deserts because of the gypsum-like quality of the blazing white sand. In sharp contrast to White Sands National Monument is the gold and rich brown sand of the Arizona deserts. The dunes are as smooth as glass, but not for long. The Navajos are the biggest of America's remaining Indian tribes. We cannot help but wonder how they manage to survive in this tough terrain, but they manage. Yes, this is rugged country, but there is a wild, untamed beauty here that captivates the senses. This was their home long before the white man came, and for all we know, long before the forces of nature carved the hole in the ancient rock. When it snows on the plateaus of the Grand Canyon, it really snows. But when the shrieking wind dies down and the white flakes have been exhausted, this is what the world's #1 natural wonder looks like, the Grand Canyon in the winter. Still in Colorado, we cut through the Great Sand Dunes National Monument, sometimes called the Sahara of Colorado. According to the maps, it's not a very big desert, but I'd hate to be stranded out here without a week's supply of water. The sand soaks up the moisture, the tree dies, yet at the base of the tree, a daisy stubbornly defies the thirsty sand, and here and there we see other traces of scrub vegetation. But by and large, the Great Sand Dunes is all sand, and as far as the youngsters are concerned, all fun. And I'll bet the nomad children of the Sahara do the same thing. In Colorado's skiing country, at Aspen especially, there are more memorable picture postcards. Here's a goodie, an Eskimo sled drawn by a big team of Huskies. You can rent the team and driver for a few hours, or if you're the adventurous sort, for an overnight trip. At nighttime, the mountain slopes overlooking Aspen glow with the purple light of burning torches, a highlight of the annual Ski Carnival. It is impressive even from a distance, the magnificent monolith in Wyoming known as Devil's Tower, America's first national monument. We can drive our cars almost to the very base and then look up 600 feet. The tower has been climbed, but only by a handful of the very best climbers. Yellowstone National Park was the first of its kind set aside by the U.S. government for the benefit of all the people. It is noted for its waterfalls, and the native fauna of the park has been jealously preserved. The deer, antelope, moose, and hundreds of other species of wildlife roam more than 2 million acres in absolute freedom. The bears are a panic. They're awful hams. The minute they hear the camera click, they all get into the act. And naturally, there's a rebel in every crowd. He probably just wants overtime. Yellowstone's most amazing spectacle is its display of more than 3,000 geysers and hot springs. That's right, 3,000 geysers and bubbling springs. Faithful is, of course, the most famous and the most admired of the park's geysers for these reasons: the regularity of its eruptions, the violence of its explosions, and the grace and beauty of its water column. We were here at the outset of winter, and the wind, as you can see, is dissipating what is normally a straight column. Here's the same scene during a snowstorm. Old Faithful is vaporized into a huge, billowy cloud. Yellowstone is open to visitors during the winter, and you can skim across the snow in relative comfort and be rewarded with uncommon scenes such as this. Well, given a choice between Wyoming in the winter or Wyoming in the summer, I'm a softie. I'll take it in the summer and love every moment of it. Here are the picture postcards. In Wyoming, they'll tell you that the Jackson Lake country is about as close as one can get to heaven on earth. Well, be that as it may, they have a right to brag about the Tetons, considered by many to be the most beautiful mountain range in the Americas. You stand in a forest of the Dakota Black Hills. You raise your eyes, and another picture postcard becomes a reality. Yes, this is Mount Rushmore, the most monumental sculptural achievement of modern times, a classic example of man joining hands with nature to memorialize both man and nature. Oddly enough, Rushmore is more impressive, seems much more massive from the air than from the ground. And here it appears that our helicopter is almost touching the head of Washington, yet we were a good 500 feet away. The Indians of the Dakotas were by no means sissies, but even they were frightened by this part of the land. The Indians minced no words. They called it the Bad Land. Well, the white man came along, took just one look, and had to agree with his Indian brothers. These were bad lands indeed, a nightmare of nature, a land of heat and wind and erosion. Today, thanks to highways and modern transportation, the Badlands National Monument is no longer a place to be feared, but a tourist attraction well worth visiting, a freakish yet awesome display of nature's perversity. Picture postcards, well, try Slate Gorge in Utah, or mountain fishing in the Beehive State. Take a few giant strides and presto, we're in Oregon. That's Mount Hood in the background, towering over the city of Portland, which is actually miles away. Then drive the forested highways of Oregon and please don't pass up Crater Lake. For some reason, it appears even bluer in the wintertime. And notice that the small peaks which rim the lake are reflected on its glassy surface. What a jewel of a lake, and what a picture postcard. From Oregon, fly on to Washington and then Alaska, Mount Edgecombe, a dormant volcano. It looks bluish from a distance, but as we approach the mouth or the inverted cone, we can see the greens and rust-red hues of the volcanic rock. By air or by car, go out of your way if you must to see America's mightiest mountain, the shimmering majesty that is Mount McKinley. Yes, Hawaii calls, and oh, there are hundreds of picture postcards in the 50th state, especially at the Polynesian village. What was I saying earlier about Texas skies? Well, I may have spoken too soon. Just a few miles offshore from Honolulu, a giant catamaran is etched against the tropical midnight sky. It's a beauty, isn't it? A real picture postcard panorama. The Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco, a beautiful day, typical, yet some instinct prompted our photographer, Tom McHugh, to wait and be patient. Well, luck joined hands with skill. The fog rolls in from the sea, and the result is a picture postcard masterpiece. From many points of view, the finest single shot I have ever seen in any travel film. It isn't just the fog that makes the picture, but a combination of elements. The mood, the right moment, the wind velocity, the precise time of day. Truly a priceless picture postcard.